Unveiling Strong Delusion, Video 6, Ur of the Chaldees. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Saraï his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. Genesis 11:31. Ur of the Chaldees means Ireland or Air and a large part of North America, formerly occupied by the Erie Indians. Ur and Air, or Ireland and Erie, have the identical consonant sound R. Pockets of Ireland and Scotland represent a rough remainder of a once great civilization that extended across the Atlantic to much of North America. The civilization died in the true Holocaust, or Shoah. The sun rises in the west. Scholars tell us Ur lies somewhere in the Middle East. Under the Tabula Rogeriana by Muhammad al-Idrisi, Ur lies to today's west, in Ireland and in North America, in the United States. Tara Hill, Ireland, named after Tara from the Bible. Tara pronounced Tara by many. Some pronounce Tara to sound like Tara from Genesis, others like Tara. When the series reaches Milcah, the mother of Rebekah, it will discuss the meaning of Tara's name. Stone of Destiny, Tara Hill, Wiki Commons. High Cross of Tara Hill. Great Lakes, Lake Erie. Lac Saint Louis and Lake Erie. Around 1612, Samuel Champlain made a map of New France and gave today's Lake Erie the name Lac Saint Louis. This refers to King Louis IX of France, who ruled from 1214 to 1270. King Louis IX, or St. Louis, gained his fame as the destroyer of the Cathare in southern France. The videos will return to King Louis IX later in the Genesis narrative. Scholars tell us the large lake on Champlain's map, called Lac Saint Louis, refers to a small lake in Montreal that goes by the same name today. Great Lakes in the USA. South of the Great Lakes lie the states of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. The Ohio River forms the southern border of Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, and meets up with the Mississippi and travels south to Louisiana. This area forms the area for much of the story of Genesis and much of Egyptian and Greek mythology. Land of the Erie. Scholars tell us the Erie Indians once occupied much of the land south of the Great Lakes. Scholars tell us the French armed the other tribes with firearms who used them to wipe out the Erie. The Erie Indians and Air have much in common beyond having the same name with the same consonant sound R. The French called the Erie the Nation du Chat, or the Cat Nation. Linguists tell us the name Erie derives from the word Eriol Honan, meaning long-tailed, from a long-tailed cat. Ira means a wild cat. Ira the cat reflects the Erie, or Air, or Ur, or Air. Ira. Mountain lion, the long-tailed mountain lion. American mountain lion, Puma concolor. Panthera leo atrox. Scholars tell us thousands of years ago, a lion lived in America called Panthera leo atrox, meaning the abominable, or terrible, or fierce panther, or lion. The abominable panther, Jesus ben Panthera. Erie, Egypt, Era, quote, the next name appropriated to this island was Air, i.e. Ireland, so called from the word area, a name by which formerly Crete, now Candia, was called. Egypt, from whence the Galileans came, was called by that name, And the same author is of opinion that the Isle of Crete was called Aeria because the Galileans remained there after the time when Shru, the son of Esru, with all the Galileans, were banished out of Egypt. Keating's General History of Ireland, translated by Dermot O'Connor, page 49, 1723, available for free online. Irish legends tell of Scota, an Egyptian princess banished from Egypt who fled and founded the Gallic people in Europe. The legends say Scota lived during the time of Moses. When this series arrives at Milcah, the mother of Rebecca, it will return to Scota and much more. Most people have seen photographs of Scota under a different name. The cat nation of the Erie connects directly to Ayr, where cats form a central part of Celtic folklore, held sacred by many. Scholars tell us Celtic warriors would wear cat skins and wild cat heads. Macintosh Cat Clan. Clan Catton or Chaton. The chief of Clan Catton or Chaton, from the French chat, goes by the title The Great Cat. Clan McBean or McBain. The Catti of Caithness. The Pict tribe called the Catti or Cat people lived on Caithness, or the promontory of the Cats in northeast Scotland. Scholars tell us around 800 AD, in the Middle Ages, the Catti people had a kingdom called Cat or Cate. Caithness, the names of the Cat people survived in the remote regions. Sutherland County or Cateau, Cat Country. The Gaelic name for Sutherland County, Cateau, means cat country. The Sutherlands and others killed the cat people. The movie The Hunger Games reflects this history, with Donald Sutherland playing the oppressor of Katniss, or Caithness Everdeen. For those with eyes to see, the mockery of the vanquished exists everywhere around us. Morgan Le Fay, Cat Sorceress. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Exodus 22:18, King James Version. A sorceress you are not to let live. Exodus 22:17, Shocking Bible. Morgan Le Fay by Frederick Sandys, 1864. The real Shoah or Holocaust. The Air or Eri or Area or Egypt and their entire culture died in a massive war, a true Holocaust or Shoah in Hebrew. The Hebrew word Shoah means destruction, desolation, ruin, or waste. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 7724b, Haw Theological Word Book of the Old Testament 2339. Historians tell us shortly before the white man discovered America, the mound builder civilization had hundreds of cities across much of North America, some as large or larger than London at the time. Historians tell us no one knows what happened to the mound builders. They died in a great war, a Shoah or Holocaust. Shawnee Indians. Historians tell us the Shawnee once occupied a vast territory extending from Virginia west to Illinois and from Pennsylvania south to Alabama. Today the Shawnee live primarily in Oklahoma, forced there by war. Shawnee or Shoah-born. The Hebrew word Shoah, meaning devastation, ruin, waste, appears in the Shawnee Indians, or Shawnee, or Shoah-born. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 7724b. Haw Theological Word Book of the Old Testament 2339 transliterates the Hebrew root as SHW, as in Shawnee, a so-called Indian tribe. The word "nay" means born in French, as in Jackie Kennedy, Né Bouvier. Tribes of children and more. The victors created the Shawnee and other tribes from the children of the vanquished. The victors raped and abused the children in many ways and created their new culture for them. Quote, "A girl who is 3 years of age and one day may be betrothed by cohabitation." Yevamot 57b. This notorious statement from the Talmud people have placed on modern rabbinical Jews. This has no connection to modern rabbinical Jews. It connects to the real Jews of the Old Testament. Rabbinical Judaism did not come into existence till around the 16th century, long after. Carlisle Indian Industrial School, Pennsylvania, around 1900. Little houses on the prairie and other places. Not all children became members of tribes. Some became the white children of the conquerors, suffering the same abuses as the children put into tribes. Many became slave children. One can find Hebrew words in tribal and state names. Nebraska, the candlestick. Nebraska has almost the exact sound as a Hebrew word for candlestick, Nebrasha. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 5043. Nebrasha. Chaldee, as in Ur of the Chaldees. From an unused root meaning to shine, a light, plural, collectively a chandelier. A brass candlestick, brash. Dakota, the crushed. Dakota, a tribe with 2 states named after it, has a Hebrew word meaning crushed or to crush in its first 3 letters, D-A-K. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 1790, 1792. Dak, crushed, oppressed. Paul Theological Word Book of the Old Testament, 429. Ota means her in Hebrew, crushed her, and he crushed her, to paraphrase the Beatles, tools of the oppressors. Dak, crush, oppress. O God, why hast thou cast us off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Psalm 74:1. O let not the oppressed, Dak, Strong 1790, return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. Psalm 74:21. Kansas, the subdued. Kana in Hebrew means to be humble, be subdued, be brought down, be low, be under, be brought into subjection. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 3665. It denotes bringing a proud and recalcitrant people or spirit into subjection. 18 of the occurrences refer to military subjection. Paul Theological Word Book of the Old Testament, 1001. Forced laborers, miss or mass. The first 3 letters of Missouri and Mississippi, miss, mean a forced labor gang or slave laborers in Hebrew. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 4522, mas or miss. Massachusetts also has the slave laborers or serfs prefix. Arizona, the lion. Ari in Hebrew means lion. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 738. Zana in Hebrew means a harlot, or to commit fornication, and similar meanings. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 2181. Paul Theological Word Book of the Old Testament 563. Arizona, the lion. A similar word, zanak, means to cast away or spurn. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 2186. Another similar word, spelled the same in Hebrew but transliterated as zana, means to stink, to emit a stench. Strong's Hebrew Concordance 2186b. Paul Theological Word Book of the Old Testament 565. Montana and the Blackfeet. The Blackfeet Indians today live in Montana. The Greeks called the Egyptians the Blackfeet, or Melampodes. Historians tell us Jesuit missionaries established several missions among the Blackfeet in the 19th century. Montana. Notice the states have mostly straight lines for their borders in the west, except for Montana, which clearly has a face drawn into its western border with Ohio, the forehead, the nose, the mouth, and the chin. Montana. Scholars tell us Montana got this odd border with the states because of a dispute between surveyors. Minos, from Michelangelo's Last Judgment in the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. Notice the snake devouring his genitals. this theme will return. Comparison of Minos' face with the face on Montana. Even the nose has the rugged nose of Minos. Greek myths called Minos the first king of Crete. John Keating equated Crete with Area or Egypt. Keating's General History of Ireland, translated by Dermot O'Connor, page 49, 1723, available for free online. Minos has the same consonant sounds as Menes, the first king of a unified Egypt. Thanks to GreenlandTheory.com for this Minos and Montana insight. Minos and Milcah. When this video series reaches Milcah, the mother of Rebecca, it will explain why the Jesuits put the face of Minos in Montana. The Erie, the massacred cat people. Historians tell us the Iroquois and other tribes massacred the Erie in the 17th century with the help of firearms given to them by the French. For want and famine, they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste. Job 33. Desolate and waste in that verse comes from Strong's 7724, Shoah, and Strong's 4875, Meshwa. Gennady Bible, Apocalypse. Historians tell us around 1490 AD, Archbishop Gennady of Novgorod the Great, or Veliki Novgorod, compiled the first full biblical manuscript in Old Slavonic. This painting comes from the Apocalypse in the Gennady Bible. Notice the rifle with the powder horn on this white man shooting the darker skinned men or animal men with size. Novgorod, New Orleans. Novgorod the Great, or Veliki Novgorod, means the city of New Orleans in today's Louisiana, USA. It also means the Egyptian city of Heliopolis, or On. A later video in the series will offer proof of New Orleans as On and Novgorod, traditional proof and occulted or esoteric proof. Scholars tell us large numbers of Slavic people emigrated to Louisiana in the early 1800s. They did not immigrate, but lived there originally. The videos will return to Slavs in America when the series reaches Milcah, the mother of Rebecca. Gennady Bible Apocalypse. The figure at the top has a unicorn on the couch or settee. Unicorn on the couch. The Chaldeans also say that the god comes in person to the temple and rests on the couch. I do not believe this story myself, although it is exactly the same as what happens in Thebes, that is Egyptian Thebes, according to the Egyptians. Herodotus, The Histories, Book 1, paragraph 182. Herodotus calls the Chaldeans the priests of Bel, Book 1, paragraph 181. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? Or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Job 39, 9 to 10. The British Royal Coat of Arms with the bound unicorn. The unicorn represents Manasseh and his father Joseph, bound by the Lion of Judah. And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him. For he is our brother and our flesh, and his brethren were content. Genesis 37, 26 to 27. Picture from HebrewNations.com. The picture in question is taken from a reconstruction now on display at Bet Hatefutzel, the Museum of the Jewish Diaspora in Tel Aviv. End of quote. Partial quote from HebrewNations.com. Quote, Ida Huberman commented on this picture. The lion and the unicorn painted opposite the bear. If any viewer has a picture of the bear, please post it online. Thank you. General Gennady Bible Apocalypse. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me, and from the words of my roaring? Save me from the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorns. Psalm 22:1 and 21. Notice two things out of many. The bare rock mountain in the background with two promontories. The hawk swooping between the two promontories. Chaldee National Park, American $2. Gennady Bible's painting of the apocalypse depicts this mountain, known as Camel Rock. The hawk swooping between the two promontories, just as depicted in the Gennady Bible. This quarter comes from the America the Beautiful Quarter series issued by the U.S. Mint in commemoration of a massacre. Honor and fame. The Greek heroes could win time and kleos, or honor and fame, from war. Later, the videos will show through language that the victors reveled in killing. Garden of the Gods, Chaldee National Forest. Chaldee National Forest in southern Illinois, by the Ohio River. Chaldee National Forest covers 280,000 acres, or 1,100 square kilometers, across southern Illinois. It includes parts of the counties of Pope, Jackson, Union, Hardin, Alexander, as in Alexander the Great, Saline, Gallatin, Johnson, and Massac. Important names in the delusion. The Shoah told by the killers. The Erie or Cat Nation no longer exists. All the information we have on the Erie comes from those who massacred them. To this day, the killers treat the descendants of the survivors as less than human. The Shawnee tribe, born of the Shoah, and black slaves and poor whites, replaced their ancestors, the Erie or Egypt, a vast multicultural nation. French provided guns. Historians tell us the French provided guns to the Iroquois and other tribes, and the Gennady Bible pictures the French guns killing the Erie. Cannibalism. Some legends of the massacre of the Erie say the victors engaged in cannibalism. King Louis XIV, the Sun King and cat killer. Scholars tell us in Paris in 1648, King Louis, crowned with roses and carrying a bouquet of roses, lit a bonfire with cats in a basket and danced around the bonfire. Scholars tell us that after lighting the bonfire and dancing around the burning cats, King Louis XIV ate at a banquet at the town hall. Did he eat the cats? Cannibalism in Europe? French haute cuisine? Spices, anyone? Paris catacombs, clean bones without the hardened skin and hair and other body parts that bones buried in graves always accumulate. Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Job 39:10. United States Constitution, Amendment 13, Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Slave of the state, quote, for the time being, during his term of service in the penitentiary, he is in a state of penal servitude to the state. He has, as a consequence of his crime, not only forfeited his liberty, but all his personal rights, except those which the law in its humanity accords to him. He is for the time being the slave of the state. He is civiliter mortuus, and his estate, if he has any, is administered like that of a dead man. Ruffin against Commonwealth of Virginia, 62 Virginia, 790, 796, 1871. For those unfamiliar with law, volumes 62 refers to volume 62 of the Virginia reports. Each state has its own. The 790 refers to the page on which the opinion begins, and the 796 refers to the page from which this quote comes. And of course the 1871 refers to the year. The law remains the same. Courts don't use the word slave anymore, but the fact of slavery still exists. Unicor.gov, U.S. government website. Only the letter N away from unicorn. Mass prison slave labor in United States prisons, mandated by the United States Constitution. Factories with fences, the history of Unicor. Prison industry work programs have grown from deeply seated roots which have withstood the challenges of time. From the late 1700s, spanning the Civil War, Great Depression, World War II, and other major conflicts, and despite periods of criticism from detractors, increasingly constrictive procurement laws, misinformation, and stigma associated with the value of inmate-made goods, prison industry work programs have endured. 100% of American leaders involved. Every politician, every judge, every district attorney, and every United States attorney takes an oath to enforce slavery. Every politician, every judge, every district attorney, and every United States attorney profits from slavery. Every courthouse turns free men and women into slaves daily. Smoke pot and become a slave. Violate traffic laws and become a slave. Steal food for your family and become a slave. America, the land of the free. Homosexual slavery. The Torah allowed slaves to remain with their families. See Exodus 21. American slavery camps separate the slaves by sexes and do not allow conjugal visits for slaves with their wives or husbands. Most states locate prisons far from cities, making visiting slaves an arduous task for poor city-dwelling family members. Prisons prey on the slaves and their families financially, charging outrageous prices for everything. Violent slavery. Murders occur frequently in American prisons, but rarely make the news. The mainstream media has no room in its schedule for real news. It has room only for trauma-based mind control. Believe nothing in the news, especially news of violence and wars, all staged by governments against their own people. Slave children. American courts routinely sentence children as adults to long prison sentences. The United States Supreme Court has upheld the constitutionality of life sentences without the possibility of parole for children, so long as the trial judge gives adequate reasons on the record after a hearing. The author knows people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who went to prison as children and remain there today. Thank you for watching. The next video will show the real Haran, which retains almost the same name to this day. When the series reaches Milcah, the mother of Rebekah, it will return to America and much more. Permission to copy and translate. The author permits any human being to copy and rebroadcast this video in whole or in part. The author permits any human being to translate this video into any language.